Forget all you know about podcasts. We welcome you to an experience uniquely different. Please join us for our coverage of all entertainment on the fringe of society. The candles are lit, the lights are down low. It is now time to welcome our host as he steps up to the pulpit. The sacrifice has been prepared for the midnight black mass.
Ghastly greetings, groovy ghoulies, and how the hell are ya? Had to get ready for our guest tonight. My good friend, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, the former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, former TNA World Heavyweight Champion, the phenomenal one himself, AJ Styles, is our guest this week on the Midnight Black Mass. How you doing out there, people? This is the Reverend Dan Wilson, the devil you know, and I'm glad you joined us this week on the show. We got a lot to talk about, so I'm going to get right to it. Where can you see me out and about? Well, a few places. I'll be with Empire Wrestling this Saturday night, September the 20th, at the Empire Arena, 22 Austin Avenue, Rossville, Georgia, 8:05 p.m. bell time. All kinds of craziness going down at Empire Wrestling. No live Midnight Black Mass, but I'll be there to provide the commentary for the video on demand content going up at EmpireWrestling.net weekly. Right now, you can catch in its entirety the card from Crazy from the Heat 2014. The matches from D1 Sports ought to be coming up there just any time now as well. 100% free video on demand content. All you have to do is provide your email address. You'll get a password. You're in, and you get it absolutely free. Some of the best independent wrestling around. Very proud to be a part of the Empire Wrestling organization. They've really made me proud of the wrestling here in the greater Chattanooga, Tennessee area, and that has not always been the case. So I'll be with them back there at the Empire Arena on October the 4th and October the 18th. And then they did have a big event scheduled for the Electric Cowboy nightclub on October the 2nd, but that has been canceled due to the closure of said nightclub. That has been rescheduled to another famous Chattanooga fun and entertainment facility, but the official announcement has not come forth, so I'll keep my mouth shut about that. But just look for the announcement, EmpireWrestling.net, Facebook.com/Empire Wrestling, or on Twitter at EmpirePW. On October the 26th, I will be in Red Bank, Tennessee. That's a Sunday. That's at 3 p.m. bell time for the AIWF Pro Wrestling National Showcase. There's talent coming in from all over the country. Tons of matches. It's going to be as much a meet and greet and networking opportunity for talent and promoters as it is the fans, I think. So it's going to be quite a unique event. I've seen a number of folks that I know and a lot that I don't and a lot that I'm looking forward to seeing. We're going to have some talent from IWA Mid-South coming down. Of course, my man, the Strong Style Psycho Tank, will certainly be there and in action. We'll also see some Georgia standouts like Jacoby Boykins and the Monster Jeter, the Big Effin' Deagle, who's one a hell of an impressive specimen. You definitely want to see him live. Also, the Texas Tornadoes and some other Rudy Boy Gonzalez's crew is coming up for that. Going to be pretty big. And then coming up in November, on Saturday, November the 14th, I will be appearing at the Superstars of Wrestling Fan Fest 2 as a guest of Empire Wrestling, and I'll be appearing there at their booth, signing autographs, taking pictures. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's a huge weekend. There's going to be a Mick Foley comedy event the Friday before the actual Superstars Fan Fest on, looks like Saturday and Sunday, and it's going to be outstanding. Yeah, it's really going to be something special, and actually, I'm sorry, I might have the date wrong. I believe it's November the 15th that I will be there. That's the Saturday. That there's some live wrestling going down that night, and stars like Jim Cornette and Jake the Snake Roberts, who's fresh out of the hospital. I'm glad to see he's agreed to make that commitment. We're going to have the daughter of Tully Blanchard. Tessa Blanchard's going to be there in action. Larry the Cruncher Zbyszko, my man. I can't wait to see Larry. He's a good buddy of mine. Haven't seen him since the NWA Legends Fan Fest in Atlanta a couple years ago. And I haven't seen Jake in a while either, so that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. Just got that news today, so that's hot off the presses. Again, I'll be appearing at the Empire Wrestling booth in Rome, Georgia at Superstars of Wrestling Fan Fest 2. Just search them on Facebook, Superstars of Wrestling. You can find it. Click like on their page. I'll give you all the updates of what's going on there. And actually, they just signed Brodus Clay, I see. So lots more talent being named to that, I'm sure. That's not all of the announcements. Oh, Jim the Anvil Neidhart was another talent that was going to be there that I saw. So very cool. Definitely want to check that out. Superstars of Wrestling Fan Fest. Okay, well, I believe that's all my appearances for right now. Say Empire Wrestling has some big announcements coming up down the pike that you want to look forward to. They're about to start running all women's wrestling cards. That's been in high demand in the Chattanooga area, and there's been some attempts at it, but a company like Empire, with the certain level of professionalism and class they bring to the table, certainly going to bring some exciting women's wrestling to the area. Look for dates and times and official announcements coming out on that as well. We have a kind of a special, I can't really talk much about it. My lips are sealed right now, but I'm really chomping at the bit too because I'm really excited about it. It's going to be something a little different. There's going to be some wrestling involved. It's going to involve the holiday season coming up. Hint, hint, maybe the one that I like the most. That kind of I celebrate year-round, if you catch my drift. And it's not going to be your average run-of-the-mill thing. It's going to kind of be a one-time special event. And if it's successful, maybe we'll do more about that. But can't really talk about the details. Nothing's hammered out on that yet. Just some ideas that are coming down the pike that already have me excited, and I know they're going to make you excited. So, just to whet your appetite a little bit there. So, what have I been watching lately? Still watching those WCW Monday Nitros on the WWE Network. I'm like 2 episodes past where the NWO busted in the back and attacked all the WCW wrestlers. You know, they talked about on the Monday Night Wars how, like, the local fans called the cops down there in the Orlando area when it happened. And what's funny is I was actually down there on vacation and had no idea that was... We were in the hotel room watching it on television and begging our parents to take us over there. And, of course, they wouldn't. But... So that's kind of a cool tidbit. As I was actually in the same city when all that was going on, and just happened to be on a family trip doing something else. That was not yet of age. I think I was like 16 then. So, well, I was given some limited time to go out and be by myself. I wasn't like the fucking chains weren't released as of yet, but. That's really what I've been watching. I've been trying to catch up on some more independent wrestling. I'll let you know what I've been getting into. Trying to open my mind and expand my wrestling palette. I understand that not everybody may like the same type of wrestling that I like. So, that's cool. I'm trying to check out other stuff that may not be in my comfort zone. Because I think, to be a quality performer and an announcer and everything else that I do... You got to keep your mind open. You got to see what else is going on, and you got to be up on what's happening. If not, you just kind of sound like an old relic. And then even if you're up on what's happening, then you may, if you have bitches and gripes, they are a little bit more valid because at least you know what's going on and don't sound like some out of touch motherfucker who's just bitching to bitch. We don't like that. We don't like that at all. So. Talk a little bit about some spooky news right quick. Spooky news. Always get that mainly from dreadcentral.com. Give them a plug at what they call the Gasp Menagerie. Yeek! So the Halloween season's right around the corner, so I'm going to start featuring more of these spooky news segments as the show moves toward my favorite time of the year. And this week, apparently, a live gnome was captured on camera. This was in New Jersey. Allegedly, there's video. Go to dreadcentral.com and you can see it. but certainly a small entity, if you will, moves across the screen, and it walks very strangely, and it looks kind of hideous, and it kind of resembles a person, and kind of resembles a monster. And are there elven fairy-ish type beings existing in the world now? Quite possibly. I certainly wouldn't close my mind to that. Not after seeing that. And there was some more footage from South America that I saw, and I don't think it was on the Gas Menagerie, but there's a viral video on Facebook circulating. I'm sure you can see it. Just type in like South American little demon or monster or what the hell ever it was. But there's a video of a little boy playing in his room, and like apparently his parents said that he kept talking to a little man in the corner, and they thought that, you know, it was like an imaginary friend or some deal. In the video you can see this like reptilian looking thing almost, but it stands upright like a human, and it's about the size of an action figure, and it comes walking across the fucking floor there. So, you know, hey, it is the internet. Certainly I'm not telling you to believe everything you see on the internet, because we all know that's not true. 99% of it isn't true. But just what if? What if? That's all I ask. That's all the spooky news is meant to do. It's not meant to change your beliefs, but perhaps to make you question them. Moving right along to the Revs rant. Had a really good week this week, so I thought long and hard about what I could rant on professional wrestling, and I came up with a little something on what kind of chapped my ass this week, and it wasn't nothing that I got super bent out of shape about, because I would kind of be a hypocrite if I did, because, well, I didn't do it myself, and I planned on it. Was the Les Thatcher camp over at the Deep Southern Championship Wrestling School this past weekend. I actually didn't have a booking. It was an off weekend. And so I planned on going down there and visiting. Unfortunately, with my wife having a very busy career and me having a very busy career now, I don't always get to follow through with my plans, especially when it's not like a booking on my booking calendar, because that's all it really was. I wasn't booked on his show. I was just going to go down and visit with Woody, because he's one of my best friends and my trainer, and visit with Les Thatcher, because I love the old guy and I miss him and I hadn't seen him in a while. And just it didn't happen. I didn't have it on my calendar, and so it just, you know, I have a child, and I thought, oh, surely I'll be able to get child care for that. That'll be no problem. And then of course that fell through, so I didn't end up going. But I did see a lot of young guys who, you know, and like I said, it makes me kind of a hypocrite to even bitch about it, because I didn't do it myself, and I firmly believe that no matter your experience level, this was something that could have benefited you. That being said, many of the guys with a lot less experience than me, or a lot of other guys who should have been there, weren't. When Woody was on the show, he had 30 people committed to the camp, right? That was a few weeks ago. Said he was going to open up, and up to 40 he would allow in overall, even though he'd hit his original maximum. He did that. He filled up to 40. And then only 20 of you showed up. And granted, again, I was not one of those 40. I was just going to go down to visit. But I told him I was going to, and I didn't. So I'm still a little bit culpable there, in my opinion. So I don't need to talk too much about it. But you're missing out on these opportunities. And what's going to happen is you're running neck and neck with a lot of these guys, some of the guys that were there on the shows that you work and the cards that you're on, right? Okay, so these guys who went and got this extra knowledge, they're showing they're hungry. That promoters see that. Believe you me, they see it. And other wrestlers see it as well. And so while a lot of those guys that were on that camp may be below you on the card right now, they keep doing things like that, in combination with you doing what you do, which is not taking advantage of these opportunities, then it's just fair warning and only common logic that they're going to go upward and you're going to go downward. And eventually you're going to find them at the top of the card and yourself at the bottom. Something to think on, something to marinate on. That's all. I'm not trying to be super preachy with this week, because I understand everyone has circumstances and it doesn't affect me one way or the other what you do, but for your own good, you just might not want to let things like this pass you by. Speaking of, I told you about the Wrestling Fan Fest deal in Rome, Georgia. They're going to be appearing on in November for Empire Wrestling. It's part of their booth. There's going to be lots of promotions there with booths and various stars there signing autographs and taking pictures, etc. As part of that event, Jake the Snake Roberts is conducting a seminar. Now, we had a health scare with Jake. We almost lost him, according to some reports. And so now he's made this miraculous recovery. He's out here on the road again. He's coming to do this seminar. He's coming to do this fan fest. You'd be a fool not to take advantage of it. There's not guys like Jake in every independent wrestling locker room that you go to. There's only a handful of guys that have that kind of knowledge, and you need to seize those opportunities, and you need to learn from those guys. That's all for the Revs Rant this week. We'll be back right after these words from our sponsors with our guest this week, the phenomenal one himself, AJ Styles. Don't go anywhere. The Midnight Black Mass is pleased to announce we have become an affiliate of the World Wrestling Network at WWNLive.com, the home of the finest iPay-per-view and video on demand in all of professional wrestling, featuring promotions like Dragon Gate USA, Evolve, Combat Zone Wrestling, OVW, Shimmer, Shine, $5 Wrestling, and the vaunted Kayfabe commentaries with their U-Shoot, their guest booker, and their timeline series. You have to check it out. Of course, you can always go to their main page at WWNLive.com, but if you will, do us a solid, go to Facebook.com/PottyHumor or follow me on Twitter at Dragons Rejects. We'll be posting our own unique links to these events as affiliates. If you go through our link, they give us a little kickback, and we greatly appreciate it. It'll help the Midnight Black Mass and
Whether you're having an autograph session, personal appearance, or live event, we got just the person you need to contact for all of those needs. SBI Bookings is home of some of the best stars in the wrestling industry today. They provide you with the best talent this business has to offer, from Kevin Nash, Larry Zbyszko, Scott Steiner, and many, many more. So who will you contact next time you're planning an event? The men of SBI Bookings. Check them out at sbibookings.com.
Wrestling fans, Anarchy Wrestling television tapings are the second and fourth Saturdays of every month at 4236 Level Grove Road in Cornelia, Georgia. For more information on Anarchy Wrestling and on the shows, to watch the television product, and a whole lot more, go to anarchy-wrestling.net. That's Anarchy Wrestling, the second and fourth Saturdays of every month in Cornelia, Georgia.
Hey kids, you know you want to be the coolest cat on the block with your official Midnight Black Mass merchandise, available at midnightblackmass.spreadshirt.com. Just in time for Halloween, we have brand new Midnight Black Mass t-shirts, we have reject t-shirts, we have beanies, we have hoodies, and more over at midnightblackmass.spreadshirt.com. Get your merchandise today and be one of the cool kids. Where can you find 24/7 pro wrestling, MMA, talk radio, and more? BeyondRingside.com, featuring 24/7 streaming audio, including the Midnight Black Mass, Sundays at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, except for pay-per-view weekends when they run a mini marathon and the Midnight Black Mass goes on as its namesake at midnight. But don't forget the other great shows like Beyond Ringside, Wrestle Rage, To Be Determined, and more. That's BeyondRingside.com.
And we're back on the show. My guest at this time is the hottest free agent in all of professional wrestling, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion and a dear old friend of mine, the phenomenal AJ Styles. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, very glad to have you on, man. It's been a while since we talked. It's not been that long in wrestling terms from where you see guys around. I think we saw each other at a couple of indie shows on the holidays. You'd just been freshly released from TNA, and we're beginning to explore your journey on the independents. Little did you know what riches it would have to offer, as now you're all over the place. Did you ever think when we were back watching Japanese tapes in the early days that you would be the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion?
I don't know about that. So, I thought maybe I'd make it to Japan, but never the IWGP champion. So it's mind blowing. It's one of those things that all these guys that you used to watch, on these Japanese tapes, have the opportunity to meet and wrestle with, and actually hold the belt that some of them held. It's pretty awesome.
Outstanding. So how has the style evolved over there since the late 90s, early 2000s to today?
Well, I would say that, everybody was used to that strong style that was over there. And don't get me wrong, it's still over there, but I think they've gotten more into psychology, I guess is a good way to say it. I mean, where, they're not afraid to sell something, they're not afraid to make each other look strong, and you got to sell to do that. Not everybody can be Goldberg and no sell everything. So I think it's evolved in a good way, in a very entertaining way. And I think New Japan is, on the cusp of something even better than what they're doing right now. I mean, they're the hottest thing in pro wrestling right now. New Japan is, and so they're doing something right.
Absolutely, they are, and you don't have to be modest. Not only is New Japan the hottest thing in pro wrestling, but the stable that you're a part of, the Bullet Club, is also just taking the wrestling world by storm. You see the merchandise everywhere. It's every show I go to, I see a Bullet Club T-shirt in the crowd, or several. How did that come about, and what is the whole concept behind that, and how does this sort of translate from whatever the Japanese concept was to the United States?
Well, I don't know why this Bullet Club is booming so much. And don't get me wrong, long before I got there, the Bullet Club existed and was doing well. So it was one of those things where I just kind of took Prince Devitt's place, and I don't know how big or how fast it was growing, but it seemed to go, even faster, once myself and a couple other guys, Yujiro, and also a guy who joined the Bullet Club as I was getting there, and so it just kind of exploded. And literally, just like you said, everywhere I go, there is a Bullet Club shirt in the crowd. It's not like, when I was at TNA, you never saw a TNA shirt, and now you see a Bullet Club shirt everywhere. It is ridiculous. And from what I've gathered, the Bullet Club was basically guys who weren't afraid to shoot. So that's how they came up with the Bullet Club.
Ah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's cool. So it's you, and it's Machine Gun Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows, and did Jeff Jarrett just join? Am I correct about that?
I'm not sure exactly if he's going to be with us on a mainstay, basis. I'm not sure about that, but he officially is a Bullet Club member, apparently. Because he came out with a Bullet Club shirt on. So I have to see what happens in the next show. But you can't forget about the Bucks. And we got Tama, who's also and Bad Luck Fale. These guys are, what the Bullet Club is. Man, it's just awesome. We do what we want, when we want, and how we want. That's the Bullet Club. Stay where we want.
That's amazing. Right. No, that's amazing. So I saw you just went through the grueling G1 Climax Tournament, and it was like several matches within the span of several days. Can you take us through that experience a little bit?
Well, it was every other day there was a match, which is a lot different from past G1 tournaments because it was every day, and a lot of guys were getting hurt and not being able to finish the tournament, which makes sense. I mean, every day having a wrestling match, and it's not just wrestling matches. It's these guys are going out there and killing themselves. I mean, this is the tournament, the big tournament of the year, and so you go up there and do what you do best. But I think it was a smart plan for New Japan to do every other day, because every other day we could be in a different city and, get more publicity for the tournament. Everybody could have an opportunity to catch New Japan. Also, it was on, I believe, iStream, iPay-per-view. So a lot more people every other day were getting a chance to watch it. There was a day or two where we do a Friday, Saturday or something like that. I think we did that twice. But, I was happy to be a part of it because I had the opportunity to wrestle so many wrestlers that, I've never wrestled before. And it just goes to show how great these guys are, how well they can wrestle and get out there and entertain, because I thought every one of my matches was very entertaining. And that says something in pro wrestling. That, you never even had the opportunity to step into a ring with someone before and have great matches. It's good chemistry.
Yeah, and that's the mark of a true great, in my opinion, is can you go in there with anybody and light it up, and so many different psychologies and styles involved. Now, am I correct? If you go all the way to the finals of the tournament?
I did not go to the finals. They have an A block and a B block, and I was in the B block. The A block guy was Okada, I believe. No, Okada, he was in the B block. Okada beat me in the B block, and Nakamura was in the A block. So those two went on. Not that Okada didn't get beat. In fact, we were tied. Me and Okada were, except he beat me. So he gets the opportunity to go to the finals. But I did wrestle Tanahashi in basically the runner-up position, and it was great, man. It's a huge building that we were wrestling. It was actually a baseball field, and it was awesome.
Outstanding. Which kind of leads me to my next question. Doing that much, and you said they did have to space it out because guys were starting to get hurt. But you had amazing longevity for a guy that does a rather high impact style. Now, you certainly slowed down and things over the years, but how have you maintained your health, and how are you feeling 15 years in to being one of the most high impact wrestlers on the planet?
Well, I got to tell you, man, I don't think that it was the style that slowed down. It was that I understood the psychology of the style and where things made sense. But I'm not saying that I'm in the best shape of my life. I do have bumps and bruises and aches and pain, but, that just goes with it. I am just lucky and blessed to be able to not have any major injuries as of yet. And it's just, one of those things, man, when I try to, work out on a regular basis and try to stay in shape. And sometimes, like today, I really don't feel like doing cardio. Let's hope that I get in the mood later on to do some running and jogging or whatever, something, because the older you get, the harder you have to work. The older you get, the less energy you have to work out. So it doesn't make any sense. But that's the way it is. And I think that I just understand pro wrestling and my body, and I do what I can to make sure that I'm able to, make it to the next match. And that doesn't mean that I'm mailing it in when I go to shows, so that's certainly not something I do. But if something's sketchy, if something's a little risky, maybe I not do it this time rather than when I was young. It was no problem because I could get hurt and the next day be fine. Nowadays, I get hurt and I may not be better the next day.
Yeah, at time it catches up to everyone, man. So, but of course the things with Japan going great. You're also involved now in the U.S. Indies again, and right at the top of Ring of Honor. Matter of fact, our guest next week is going to be your opponent on September 27th in Wheeling, West Virginia for Ring of Honor, the one and only Matt Sydal. So, just curious if you had any thoughts on your return to Ring of Honor and also on the match with Matt itself?
Well, man, I was a little worried about when I first got to Ring of Honor in January because I felt like I was the old veteran coming in and thinking, I was afraid that they were going to think that this guy was coming in just to make a paycheck and not really going in there to have great matches. But they never even treated me like that. They, I guess it's just me being jaded a little bit from that happening to me, but they didn't seem to mind me coming in, and I definitely didn't, like I said before, didn't mail it in. So I got the respect, and I earned the respect, from a guy coming out. It was their home, and I want to make it my home, but I had to get their blessing, the roster's blessing, and it was, man. They certainly gave me their blessing, and it's awesome working with those guys. But the opportunity to wrestle Matt Sydal again, that's going to be awesome, man. I mean, both of us learning from our past and the maturity of growing up in this business, I think is a good combination for a great match.
I think so, and there's a unique thing about you guys in that there was a time really where you were almost the either major companies parallel of one another. Matt was sort of, for lack of a better phrase, WWE's AJ as Evan Bourne for a while. And so it's really a dream match for a lot of fans. And then for us who have known you guys going back several years, it's even more special. So I'm really looking forward to getting a copy of that when it's all said and done. But you talk about Ring of Honor and the influx of talent that's been coming in there recently. We are at a unique point in the industry where there's almost more talent than there are major wrestling promotions. It's amazing to me that guys like Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian end up on the indies, but what a benefit to Ring of Honor.
Exactly, man. And, they're definitely, if we're talking about, companies that were on TV, and I know Ring of Honor is on TV. It may not be in every market, but they are on TV. New Japan, I pay-per-views, and I'm sure they're on TV in Japan as well. They're the only two companies in the world that, as far as I know, they're on TV on a regular basis that made money this year. So
that's
Ring of
awesome.
Honor, they're not afraid to make the best of someone else's bad decision. I guess that's a good way to say it. They know the guys that can get out there and wrestle, and we'll get out there and entertain these folks. And it doesn't matter if they're from a different company. It just matters whether or not they're willing to get out there and, I guess, earn their paychecks, basically it. Chris and Frankie, you're definitely not afraid to do that. Matt Sydal is not afraid to do that. So, they take these guys that are from different companies and let them do what they do best.
It's a unique time to be in the wrestling business. The times they are changing, as the old song says. Just the industry is sort of shifting overall, and this whole new generation of people is coming in. And now guys like you, who were guys in the past on the horizon, who were coming up, are now leaders and now superstars. What advice do you have to the young up-and-coming independent wrestlers who idolize and emulate you and your style, and what would you advise them to do to try to achieve the most out of their career?
Well, first and foremost, I'd let them know that it isn't about winning and losing. It's about whether or not someone wants to see you wrestle again. That's what the most important thing. So winning and losing, let's just throw that out the door. It doesn't matter anymore. The story that you're trying to tell, that's important. When it comes to who's going over and who was losing, it's all about the story and how it's progressing, and that's the most important thing as well. That they got to make sense of everything. Everything has to make sense. Don't do something. I see a lot of this on the independents. They do stuff just to do them. They don't make any sense whatsoever. They didn't need it in the match. In fact, it may have made them look weak in the match because they thought it was more entertaining. But it wasn't. It wasn't more entertaining because they were very confused at the fact that you just went through a table and then you came in the ring and nothing had happened. You know what I mean? So there's little things like that, independent guys and myself made back in the past, and that, if they want my advice, and sometimes I know some of the guys, and I'll say, and I'll give them my advice because I know they'd want to know it. And to tell you the truth, I get advice from Christopher Daniels when, he's not afraid of him, and Frank are not afraid to come up to me after a match and Ring of Honor. Hey, man, this is cool, this is nitpicking, but if you would have did this, and I'm like, oh, man, you're right. So I'm still learning as well, but I'm still getting other people's opinion about how I can be better. So I think it's very important that, the younger guys, ask these guys who they respect, hey, did you have a chance to watch the match? If you did, is there anything I could have done better? Stuff like that. I'll tell you what I see most of, more than anything, is slapping of the leg or arm or whatever when throwing a punch or kick or whatever. It is done so much it almost doesn't mean anything. And the secret to, making that sound is that no one sees it. But I think they, on the independents, it's almost like it's more important to make the sound, and it doesn't matter if anybody sees it, but I think it's the other way around. Let's make that sound of a punch or a kick or whatever mean something and hide it well, but the way it's going to mean something is if it was somewhere in the match where it was a big, part of that punch or that kick that sent someone out. It has to have impact rather than just another punch or kick.
Oh, yeah.
I may have said way too much. I don't know.
No. I mean, hell, man, that's gold. That's what these people want to hear coming from a guy of experience, and it is. It's one well executed and sold punch or kick is worth 15 terrible ones.
Absolutely. Well, how much weaker do you look? Throwing 15 punches. Well, why not just throw one good one and let him sell that rather than him, get punched 15 times? I mean, if you really punch someone in the face, you're probably going to knock them out. So let's make that one punch count. And, and that's the thing. We can throw as many forearms as we want. Forearms are forearms. And they're legal, by the way. And, and we can throw those and we can hit somebody hard, and it is what it is. That's why you'll very rarely see me throw punches because I'm a big fan of forearms.
So your forearms are always devastating.
I'll put them in there. There's no doubt about it. And I'll let you know, my forearms, they're coming. I'm going to put them in there. But it's not going to knock you out. It's going to make a sound because it's real. And, it is what it is. And I'd want as long as you throw a forearm correctly, then you never have to worry about hurting someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't treat the audience like they're dumb either. With the rise of MMA, people very clearly see what a real punch to the face looks like. So there's no sense in giving them a bunch of baloney in wrestling, that it's just impossible for them to suspend their disbelief. Exactly. And there's marks that come from a punch, I'll tell you, when I started throwing forearms, it's when I was working at Wildside for the longest time, and we was through punches. And I had the opportunity to go to Ring of Honor for the first time, and it was nothing but chops and forearms. So I had to learn quick how to throw a decent forearm because everybody threw them up there, and I didn't want to be the odd man out, and it made more sense to throw these forearms. So it was Ring of Honor that got me going with the forearms in the first place. Very interesting. Well, we're getting down to about the last 10 minutes or so of the interview, so I guess we'll reserve this time to take a little trip in the Wildside time machine. We do a little segment on the show called the Wildside Chronicles. Of course, everybody's heard you talk about TNA on all the other interviews you've done. There's JR, there's Jericho, so go out there and check that out. He talks in depth about all of that stuff, but certainly something that he's not going to mention much on those because those people don't have much of an involvement in this is the time that we spent in NWA Wildside years ago, and now everybody was extremely green during that time, but we kind of lucked into some kind of magic there at the time. Would you take us back on your reflections? It was a great place to be at the time. I mean, we did some great things there. We had some great wrestlers come through there. I mean, Ron Killings, I remember him being, for me, the first, wow, this guy is super entertaining. He's going to be something someday. And, of course, everybody was right. Jeff and Matt Hardy actually wrestled down there. I don't know if it was Wildside. I think it was even before there was Wildside. It was NCW, and then you had switched over to Wildside. And I think those guys had an opportunity to wrestle in NCW. But definitely, what I'm saying is definitely there were some names to come through there. And even, like Matt Sydal and Delirious, they've all been down there. They've all wrestled down there. Abyss has wrestled down there. A number of guys. WCW had guys wrestling down there in Wildside for their developmental. And shoot, that's how I got a job in WCW, because when they would check on their guys, and WCW would check on their guys, they'd see me and Eric Paris tearing it up. So there's a lot of great memories about NWA Wildside, for sure. Not to mention you coming up with the name Phenomenal AJ Styles. Hey, absolutely. Thank you for giving me that credit there. It was like the college course of professional wrestling for a lot of us, and then you went on to graduate school, but it really was. It was such an educational time, and we didn't know anything. We were just looking into it, and somehow we had a little chemistry and made some magic. A lot of that, of course, had to do with Bill Behrens, and there's probably not words to describe what a positive impact he's had on your career, but why don't you try? Well, he's like a second father to me. He takes care of me, and until this day, I mean, he still makes sure that he basically agents me.
So, he gets everything set up. He makes things a little bit easier on me. And if there's any problems with, at home or on, the wrestling life, he's always there to support me and lift me up. He's a good guy, man, and I'm lucky that he's a part of my life. And there was a time though that Bill Behrens, I didn't like it at all. In fact, I thought he was trying to ruin everything that we were doing at NCW, and I was wrong. Looking back, I was wrong, and that's it was a learning experience for me. But it's I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to work with him for probably 12 years now, maybe longer than that.
Yeah.
Maybe 13.
Yeah, let's see. 99 is when you started in Wildside. So that would have been 15 years ago. So probably about 14.
It was NCW. It was NCW there then.
Right.
So
right.
I don't know if it was 6 months after that it turned in or a little bit longer. I'm not sure.
It was Wildside when I came in. It was September of 2000. So it was sometime in between then that the transition happened.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, okay, you're right. Maybe a year or 6 months. So I guess that makes it 14 years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Wow.
I know you get the feeling old when you start counting time. It really does. It's like, who would have thought that me and you would be dads now, and all of that years ago. But as we're wrapping up here, before we get to the last little bit of question, did you have anything you wanted to plug besides the upcoming Ring of Honor?
You know what? I had the opportunity to wrestle at PWG, and I haven't wrestled there in a while. I mean, it's been a long time. I had the opportunity to wrestle up there in their Battle for Los Angeles tournament. It was awesome, man. There's so much great talent there in this little building, and the fans are ridiculous, which, of course, is the fans you want to wrestle in front of. But it was great, man, going up there and actually having the opportunity to wrestle up there again as well. But I got to tell you, man, I'm looking forward to get back to the and, I had some time off after the tournament, so, I'm looking forward to getting back.
And when do you go back over there?
Next Friday, I leave for Japan, actually, going to Osaka. So it's going to be a nice 19-hour flight for some reason. I don't know why it's so long. We stop in Hawaii and then from Hawaii on to Osaka. But it is a long flight, no doubt about it. But it's fun, man. Osaka is always sold out when we go there, so it's always fun in front of that crowd.
Yeah, that's outstanding. So, you're back and forth over there a lot. How difficult is that time change to adjust to?
Well, it wasn't bad, because I'm over there so quick. I'm over there for 2 or 3 days, and I'm back home. So it doesn't really mess me up too bad. G1 tournament, I finally, by a week, maybe a week and a half, I got adjusted to their time. So when I came home, I was all messed up. It was ridiculous. I thought, oh, man, I'm so sleepy at 10 o'clock. I'm going to go to bed. My wife is going to be so happy, that I'm going to bed, at a regular, time. Well, I went to sleep at 10 o'clock and woke up at 12. I took a nap. I was so messed up, I took a nap instead of actually going to bed. So, yeah, it took a while to get readjusted, but, it's just the way it is sometimes, and I'm okay with that.
Right on. Well, last question, then we'll let you go. I know you've got stuff to get off to. So just wanted to, as I've watched your career over the years, you started out as a guy who was not much in the way of the interview department. You typically had a manager. In most cases in the early days, it was Jeff G. Bailey. But as your career progressed, especially in TNA, you became one awesome promo, in my opinion. So where did that come from? Who helped you influence that? What decisions did you make to get to that point?
Well, I think this is like anything else. The more you do something, the better you're going to get at it. The more experienced you are, the better you will get at it. And, promos have changed. Then all this screaming and all this, yelling. It's the more you get into it, it's about telling the story and also making it make sense. So once you get a grasp of, okay, wait a minute, I don't have to yell, I don't have to scream, I can talk like Jake the Snake Roberts and get my point across. Okay, I'm going to do this, and and I still get help for that. I'll always look for help for anything. The people who run great businesses usually have a number of people that are smarter than them or, do something better than them or, surrounding them. Well, I want those same people around me when it comes to professional wrestling, whether or not I can go get better in the ring or get better at interviews. I want people around me to say, hey, man, you can do this or you can do it this way, and I'm not afraid to, take their advice. And, it doesn't matter if they're younger than me or older than me. I want to get better. And there are definitely some guys that do, the pro wrestling better and do the pro wrestling interviews better.
Yeah, no doubt, but you got to find what works for you, and you've done that. And, find out what fits AJ Styles. And what fits AJ Styles isn't always going to be what fits Bruiser Brody or Dusty Rhodes. It's different for everybody. And I think it's just been awesome. Was there any one person who was like a huge influence on your promos?
Yeah, I think that the influence comes from being in that position before. When you can really say how you feel, that's the best time to cut a promo. When you really feel that way, oh man, what a blessing it is to feel that way and have an opportunity to cut a promo during that time. I think that's when most people cut the promo. You got to believe what you're saying. So when you are pissed off, man, that's the influence you need to really get out there and vent. And a lot of times you're probably going to say what people were thinking anyway. I don't think I have to tell you where that's coming from.
Oh, no. Oh, no. That's always driven my best stuff. Well, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me today, and I hope to have you back on the show anytime. Obviously, you're welcome to come back. Would love to have you, but I know you're a busy man, so we'll just stay in touch, man, and just take care of yourself.
All right, man. Sounds good, brother. We'll do it again for sure.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a good one, man.
All right, buddy. See ya.
All right. See ya. The phenomenal AJ Styles here on the Midnight Black Mass. Awesome interview. It was a little bit shorter than our normal interviews, but he's a busy man and got a lot of things on his plate. So we really appreciate him taking the time to join the show. So that's going to wrap it up. Next week, his opponent on September 27th in Wheeling, West Virginia for Ring of Honor. Go to ROHWrestling.com for more information about that match. And it's going to be Matt Sydal, the artist formerly known as Evan Bourne in the WWE. He's back in Wildside himself back in the day. And now he's back on the independents and tearing it up in Ring of Honor and all over the country. So you definitely want to join us for that episode. Until next time, this is the Reverend Dan Wilson. Keep one foot in the gutter and one fist in the gold. I'm out.